very, very difficult. You don't have, I know the kind of Silicon Valley term is all about pivoting, etc. It's basically changing your mind, but you don't have the opportunity to change your mind quickly around what it is that you're going to do. What would I have done differently? Well, to be brutally honest, I would have closed the business earlier. I wouldn't have stuck it out as I did, because it very nearly bankrupted me. So I wouldn't do that. I would look to. I think at times you've got to be a little bit brutal in terms of where you are, and not get caught up in the wanting to try and recover something when in actual fact the situation is probably unrecoverable. So I think that's the first thing. I think the first thing is to realise when it's dead, it's dead, and you just need to get out and go and do something else. In terms of kind of the stress, I do honestly believe, I think some people are capable of managing that and handling that, and some people aren't. The only thing that I kind of kept in my mind was that at the end of the day, it's a business, and if it does go horribly wrong, and I do end up kind of struggling for cash, do you know what? I'll go and get a job. And I think if you can keep that kind of view in your mind that it's not the end of the world, there are worse things that could happen, and you'll probably get through it. But I would just be brutal with yourself and make sure that you understand that when it's dead, and you move on and do something else.
We've been talking about the structure of like a growing business, small business. How would you say now that your enterprise is growing and you're speaking to people at Sky and Vodafone, how is your structure changed? Like, do you work in specialised groups of people, or is like a hierarchy system?
Oh, I wish. How do we work? Well, the first thing to say is that you do not have to be a big business to get in front of big companies. You absolutely don't. Do they like working? Did they like working with large companies in terms of because they could manage risk and those sorts? Yes, they did. But nowadays they're more keen to work with small businesses who can innovate products for them quickly to get them out to market. So our business is, there are 5 of us, 3 of whom are part-time. So we're still a tiny little business, but it doesn't stop you from getting in front of those large corporates. As we go forwards, we have a plan for going forwards in terms of growth and people and how we're going to work. So, for example, we want to try and employ the best software engineering team that we possibly can, and that means 2 things. First of all, it means that we're probably not going to have a physical office in terms of that, and secondly, it means that we are going to have to put infrastructure in place to allow us to manage that kind of disparate team. So, I've actually come to the conclusion that we, in terms of, maybe not for production and sales, but in terms of everything else, we may never have an office. It might be completely irrelevant nowadays. It's almost like a command and control thing, especially when it's your own business. You want people in the office because you want to be able to see them doing things, which is a massively inefficient use of resources. If you kind of turn that on its head and say, what I want to do is I want a team of people that are delivering things, it doesn't really matter where or how those are being delivered, as long as they are being delivered. So, we're looking at things like instant messaging communications, we've got collaboration tools, all the development stuff is done in the cloud, we're making sure that we're using standard software tools to allow us to do that so we can recruit. So I would just say probably the very, very last thing that you need is an office. So once you've kind of done all of that and you're selling stuff and you've got some people, you may, and I stress the word may, you may need an office, but and a real structure that goes along with that. But for now, it's just keeping it as lean as is humanly possible and using the tools. There are plenty of tools out there. Some of them are very good. Some of them are rubbish, granted, but some of them are very good and do allow you to manage those tasks and things over different time zones and etc. But the one thing we won't do is outsource that to a third party. We would never outsource our software development to a third party. We will keep all of that in-house, whether they're working in whether the people that we employ are working in the States or they're working in Italy or working in the UK, doesn't make any difference. They will be our employees, and we will keep that in-house, because I think that's, you've got to be very clear about what your core piece is. And I'm not a fan of, again, being involved in large outsourcing projects with Capgemini and IBM. I wouldn't do that, not if it's a core thing.
Now you talk about staff. How vital would you say the staff you hire are to whether your opportunity is a failure or a success?
It's critical. If you, I look at where I kind of look at where my father was with his engineering business back in the 70s, and the whole concept there was about employing people and controlling and making sure that they were doing what they were told to do and those sorts of things. Things have changed significantly. I'll give you a really good example. So, without two examples. Without Will, who helped us last year, we wouldn't have got the business plan to the stage that we got it to. We just simply wouldn't have. We wouldn't have had the time for a start. And because we kind of done those two things, we were righting wrong or solving a problem, Will had bought into what we were doing. He understood it and he bought into what we were doing. The second one is Gavin, who's the product marketing guy, which is just simply genius. Without Gavin, we wouldn't have got our materials, and some of it includes the business plan, but certainly the investment deck. Because the first thing you have to do with the investment is, they call it the elevator pitch, but you have to give them the elevator pitch, which is maybe 6 or 7 slides. I look at our first version that we did, which was rubbish when I look back at it, and you look at what Gavin's done with it, and honestly, it's simply genius what he's done with it. And without identifying those people and having those people on board, I don't think we'd have got anywhere, to be perfectly honest, because that deck that he's done is also our sales thing as well. So we put that in front of Sky or Vodafone or O2, and they actually return our calls and emails, which is just astonishing because they don't normally. And that's, personally, I think that's down to how Gavin has taken what we've done, which is quite a difficult subject and complicated technology, and simplified it down into 6 slides. And the imagery that is used is great. So you've got to make sure that you employ the right people. I've made some significant mistakes in the past in identifying something in the business that needs fixing, and so we need to recruit someone to do it. And I've recruited, especially on the engineering side, and I've recruited people who have maybe lasted 6 weeks, and then we've had to get rid of them, and then you sort of start again. And so it's just so important that you get the right mix of people and you build that ethos going forwards to then. So when you do grow, we'd all like to think that whatever businesses we start grow, you start to bring in similar people who also kind of believe in the ethos as well. So I would, without having that, especially that first team that we have at the moment, it's just critical. We would be nowhere without it. Yeah.
When you're trying to grow or evolve your business, do you think as the manager you have to sacrifice or something, or is there a trade-off for you as a manager?
Well, it depends on the business that you're building. I think if you're, so for example, if you want to hire, certainly in the early stages, if you want to hire the best people, which I think we are doing, then you are going to have to give some equity of the business away. So that's the first sacrifice. You have to give some of that up without a shadow of a doubt. And do you know what? I always work on the basis that at the moment, well, not at the moment, maybe 12 months ago, I earned 100% of a business that was worth nothing. So if I want to continue owning 100% of a business that's worth nothing, we'll continue doing what we're doing. If I want to split that up and give people some shares, in effect what I'm giving them is 5 or 10% of nothing at that point in time. But what we're all prepared to do is to take, I'm prepared to give away because I know that we want it to grow. So you certainly have to sacrifice those things. In terms of, I don't buy into the comments where people say you have to give up all your family life and personal life and all that sort of stuff. I think that's complete utter nonsense. If you are, there are certain examples, granted, where you have people who sit in their darkened rooms and build businesses and are complete sociopaths, and I get that, and I understand that. But for most businesses and most people, the whole point of growing the business is that you are out with other people. You are networking, you are doing sales stuff. So I don't believe that you have to sacrifice family and etc. So, for example, I've got my daughter's first nativity play is next week. It was actually on the same day that Sky wanted to see us, and I just said no, absolutely not. I can't do that day and my Gavin, who's the marketing director, thinks I'm a complete nutcase because we're not doing it. But the fact is, there are other things that I need to do, and they've come back and gone, that's fine, we'll do it the week after then. So don't be kind of drawn into the thing you have to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because you don't, realistically you don't, because nobody else does. So you're the only idiot that's sat there working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Everyone else is out having a life. So